For centuries, people have mocked the Bible's claim to be the Word of God and the various listings contained within it regarding coming judgments upon the world. These judgments are in the forms of prophecy and often are in biblical, apocalyptic, and sometimes cryptic or symbolic language. Because these judgments are so unthinkable by most and seem to be something that would be impossible according to many, they can't possibly be true events, many people claim. But now the world is watching on the news each and every day a catastrophe of biblical proportions unfolding before our very eyes: the Gulf oil well explosion. And to top it all off, it is undeniably tied to the exacting dates of Israel's 2010 independence celebration and the simultaneous news announcement of our government's plan to cease its support of Israel in the United Nations Security Council. April the 19th, Israel celebrates its independence in 2010. On April the 19th, Fox News reports that the U.S. will no longer automatically support Israel in the United Nations. The next day, on April the 20th, the Deepwater Horizon oil rig explodes. Coincidence? Or the hand and judgment of God?
What you've been watching are excerpts from videos posted on the channel PPSimmons with narrator Pastor Carl Gallups of the Hickory Hammock Baptist Church. It always amazes me how the ultra-conservative religious people miss the obvious cause of events and go straight for the supernatural conspiracy theory. According to Pastor Gallups, God has punished us for the unrelated actions of his political opponents, in this case, Obama. Is this oil spill really God's wrath for President Obama's decision not to blindly support Israel after their deadly attack on an unarmed convoy carrying humanitarian aid? Or could there be a more plausible theory, Pastor Carl? Something a little more down to earth?
It's called the acoustic switch system. It's a relay system that blows out the bottom of the catastrophe. In other words, it stops the oil where exactly from the source. Now here's what's interesting. If BP has to do business in Norway, they have to use the switch. When they do it in the U.S., they don't have to use it. It happened because of this. During the Bush deregulation years, you had the Mineral Management Service that told companies like BP that, gee whiz, we have a new policy. It's the closed-door Dick Cheney policy. That Dick Cheney program allowed the industry to bypass safe systems like the acoustic switch, and there was no need to spend $500,000 with a company that was making $40 billion. It was a complete...
With almost 8,000 subscribers and videos featured on YouTube's front page reaching over 90,000 views, I think Pastor Carl has an obligation to the truth that he openly disregards. The people of the Gulf region deserve to know the truth so they can make decisions based on facts that could prevent yet another disaster. So in the interest of truth, allow me to present another timeline of events that relies less on superstitious pseudo-revelation and more on known historical facts. On December 9th, 2000, the U.S. Supreme Court stopped a recount that would have put environmentalist Al Gore in the White House. Instead, the White House would be occupied by two former oil men, George W. Bush and Halliburton's own Dick Cheney. After being appointed to the White House, then Vice President Dick Cheney put together the Energy Task Force, officially known as the National Energy Policy Development Group. These secret meetings, conducted with oil industry giants like Exxon and BP, would shape America's future energy policy. Costly safety regulations would be stripped, and oil companies would be allowed to cut corners on safety in favor of larger profits. Tuesday, April 20th, news broke that an explosion occurred at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on BP's Deepwater Horizon oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico, signaling the start of the greatest environmental disaster in U.S. history. All these events are undeniably connected. The Supreme Court stops a recount that would have put Al Gore in the White House. Dick Cheney at the request of the oil companies, stripped safety regulations that could have prevented the disaster from U.S. law. BP's Deepwater Horizon oil rig explodes in the Gulf of Mexico, causing the greatest environmental disaster in U.S. history.
Coincidence or the hand and judgment of God?